Alright, it's been a long time. I figured it's time for me to get back into reloading. Hopefully I still know what to do. You can tell it's been so long. The projectiles I have out are tarnished. So I gotta go through those, maybe get rid of them, I don't know. But I got a new box of projectiles in. I got, I think like 8,000 9mm cleaned up. And we're gonna switch to one-shot lube. I really did like that RCBS spray lube. But I want to try this one shot, but it will actually gum up if it touches that lanolin lube. So we're going to get all these dyes out. These are Lee dyes. So these are actually the Lee dyes I got for my Loadmaster, but they work just well in here. They're not as long as the Dylan dyes, so you have to actually screw them in further. A couple of them, like the factory crimp dye and the sizing dye, are pretty well screwed in all the way. That is the normal Lee pistol kit with the factory crimp dye. That's probably the best dye ever made. That's the add-on. You have to buy that separately. Then I have the DAA, or the double alpha. And then in here, the expanding dye. I didn't like the Dylan one, so I went with the double alpha because I like the flare better for the bullet feeder. For the bullet feeder, there is a video with files to this. It's hard to find the files, but I have easy, simple files in a Google Drive for this. I have some for these easy worm gear motors. I have some with the synchronous motors, the clutches, so where if it actually does get in a bind, it'll stop, or auto reverse. Real simple. Got several plates in there. And of course, this is the actual Dylan branded case feeder. That was definitely not worth doing any of the make your own or the off-branded ones. You don't save a lot of money with the off-branded ones, and clearly they're not as good. Especially because the hardest part on the bullet feeder is getting this super low Newton micro switch. The one they use for cases has to be even more sensitive. So, really hard switch to get. Even with the ones with the bullets, you have to get a really low Newton force, a really sensitive one with a long stick, with a long actuator lever. That way once you get a few bullets on it, it'll actually trip it. Alright, so I have the power off. Gonna knock these few bullets out. I'm gonna go clean this out. Don't leave powder in here. The Lee cheap red ones, you can leave powder in there for like 3 years. The expensive RCBS and Dillons, you leave powder in there for like 2 months. They turn yellow, they turn smoked out, they warp, melt. Now is also a good time to take out your shell plate and give all that a good lube. All the parts on here are the lubeless kits from like snowshoes. Somebody told me that snowshoes was not actually making parts anymore. But I got a few other things like their ball detent, a few different roller bearings for the shell plate actuator, and the part that actually pushes the slide pusher. The part that actually pushes the slide pusher and all that. You don't have to lube those or grease those anymore. They actually have bearings on them. You can see there's a bearing there. So this is the part normally you would have to put grease on it, and it actually just turns this to move your shell plate carrier. And then on this side, same thing. Dylan's is just a rounded. You have to put grease on here. That way it moves that slide case pusher. Alright, we're over here at the arcade bench. That's where I usually build the stuff, play with the circuits. So now the one thing I have not bought, and I regret all the time, is the Dylan wrenches. They're crazy overpriced, but they're so thin you can get in here while it's still on the press, tighten these, adjust them. Because I always have trouble with my powder drop die with this is the DAA expander. This is the DAA expander. You do have to do some reaming and polishing on there once you get it. This was like over $100 just for that little piece back whenever I bought it like 3 years ago. It's a 9mm 380. Now, I was very mad I had to actually polish that and get it running, but since then it works good. I do fight this going loose, my actual powder drop die. It's really hard to get in there and tighten it while it's on the press. Also, when you use lead dies, you will have to use these thinner rings. You can get the Dillon rings, or a few other brands make the thin rings. Buy the thick ones, you'll run out of space on your sizing decapping die and your factory crimp die. So really with this, there's nothing to clean. I really don't know why I'm taking that out, but just to start fresh, because I will have to readjust every die in sequence starting from the first one, because everything bases off of your sizing decapping die. If you have everything set first, you're going to be out of sync. The DJI bullet drop die, it's the best one in the market. My opinion, it's the best one in the market. Has little detent balls in there. It is expensive. Like I said, everything from double alpha, you're going to spend like $100 on everything, no matter what it is. It's about time for me to get new dies. I'm going to see how well they clean up. You can see that I am getting rusting. I don't see any serious pitting, so I may just be able to knock the surface off of it. So I may be able to just get the surface rust off of it. If not, we'll buy a new set of dies. Get carburetor cleaner. You can spray carburetor clean on this, brake cleaner, whatever. I'm just using weapon shield solvent. Let that sit for a minute and start scrubbing it. Alright, I got them all cleaned up, put back together. Make sure you check out the next video. It'll be in the top right hand corner where I install these lead eyes into the Dylan XL650.